past 6 months for Ubisoft have not been particularly kind in terms of the stock price. Even this last month, losing almost half of the value that it had currently had back in August and July. But why is that? I think that if you are not somebody that participates in a lot of the drama of the internet, doesn't really pay attention to the pop culture, or really just plays the games that comes out, you may not understand the back end of why Ubisoft has been suffering for the past almost year with L after L after L. My goal is to kind of go over some of the greatest hits from Ubisoft today and show off to you where I believe the games company is going to go in the future. If you go ahead and hit the like button, I would very much appreciate that, and subscribe to the channel if you're interested in seeing more videos about pop culture from myself. I think the first place that we need to stop is one that a lot of people are probably familiar with, and that is the Skull and Bones failure, which a lot of people, I have not really seen a lot of people play this game or talk about it a lot. In fact, if you look at the Steam charts for the game, you'll see that it falls way far below where a lot of games that would be considered quote-unquote even quadruple A would fall under. This game hasn't had really a lot of people enjoying it, and I do believe that probably one of the biggest factors for people in whether or not they play this game is probably the ridiculous price tag of $70. Now, it should be noted that yes, for the most part, it is $10 more than the normal $60 genre. I think for about a decade, maybe even a little bit longer, games have been more appropriately priced at the $60 price range for AAA titles. I can think of when I started playing Wii games, when the price jumped up from 50 to 60 and how frustrating it was. But for the most part, everybody seems to be mostly okay with paying in that range. However, not for the Ubisoft CEO. He wants more money for his games, even going as far as to say that because Skull and Bones is a quote-unquote quadruple A title, it deserves another $10. Now, personally, I am not quite so sure what makes Skull and Bones so much more interesting compared to the other pirate games that already exist out in the market. I think Sea of Thieves is probably my favorite example of what a good pirate game is. I know that not a lot of people play or maybe even really enjoy Sea of Thieves, but I think infinitely it does way better in terms of being a pirate experience. Not only that, I have heard a lot of issues with the game in general. People just don't find it exciting, and so I can definitely understand when there is a massive $70 price tag on your game. By the way, an amount of money that, while it, again, is $10 more than the norm, still sounds ridiculous to a lot of people, because nobody really wants to spend that much dollars. Nobody really wants to spend $60 now, especially in the economy where we are having these issues with making money, or money feeling like it's worth less, and inflation supposedly on the rise. I think looking at the failure of this game, nobody will play it because it's just too expensive for them. I mean, I don't know a single person that actually owns this game, and even though I have a pretty wide, diverse set of friends, I mean, maybe somebody does. I have absolutely no idea. I just don't see anybody playing it. I don't know. It just doesn't feel that exciting to me. The next L that I feel like Ubisoft is kind of having to deal with is, of course, Assassin's Creed Shadows. This game has had multiple months of controversy surrounding it, with the biggest issue of this game due to historical inaccuracies with the Assassin's Creed title, pulling very greatly from little threads of Japanese history when it comes to the main samurai character of the game, Yasuke, who was a black swordsman that lived in Japan. Now, I'm not going to say that I know all of the actual history of Yasuke. I would rather ask an actual Japanese historian that lives in Japan and probably knows Japanese history back and forth what this man's actual involvement was. But it is to my knowledge that Yasuke was not as far as being an actual samurai. In fact, he was probably even less than what people are already saying. However, the reason why they have decided to include him in the game is from what many people believe is to be the writings on a Wikipedia page that has been changed multiple times and then very quickly locked by people because they don't want to see any more changes to it. Ubisoft has doubled, tripled, and even quadrupled down on the use of Yasuke in the Assassin's Creed title. And if I'm going to be completely honest, go right ahead. Yasuke is, you know, it's whatever. People want to throw in different characters into the mix. Go right ahead. However, you cannot be necessarily mad when the people that you are representing, the Japanese nation here, the old Japanese nation, if they don't buy your game, and it looks like, and this is a snippet from Japanese Amazon here, nobody is buying this game at all. It says 100 plus have bought this game. And from my limited experience with Amazon, that means that less than 1,000 copies of this game have been sold for a game that is not even out yet, to be fair. Maybe more will be sold when the game gets brought out, but nobody seems to be buying this game. And, you know, they have... a lot of people have very good reason. A lot of people in Japan are not happy with the historical inaccuracies of this. I've seen a couple mangakas bring up their distaste for the lack of historical accuracy in this game. And yeah, I don't know. There is other minor controversies brought about with this. I do recall that they attempted to use a flag that wasn't even part of Japanese history. It was part of a reenactment group of young Japanese people that like to reenact different samurai battles, and they stole that without consulting or paying them for the ability to use that. Whether or not they're going to fix that when the actual game releases is up to Ubisoft here. But if they don't, I imagine that the small reenactment group is probably going to seek legal remedy because Japan doesn't around with copyright. They don't mess around with it. If Japan thinks you broke their copyright, they're just going to snap their fingers and you're done. So good luck with that one, Ubisoft. The third example that I wished to include when it comes to L's at Ubisoft is their new developers class thing that they are holding called Develop at Ubisoft. This is a very controversial thing that a lot of people were able to pick up on recently. This is something that was released back in April of this year. However, people are looking at it more and more because on their website, when you go to apply to this Develop at Ubisoft event, there are two specific things that people are pointing out. One, that you must be a woman, or that you must be non-binary. Now, I am all for multiple people getting the representation that they deserve. I think that if you can insert yourself and it doesn't feel weird, you can do whatever you want. However, I have a mild problem with the fact that they are quite literally saying that you can only do this if you are a woman or a non-binary person. My question is, where's the men coming in at this? Are you asking that men lie on their application and say that they're just non-binary? That never goes over well. That never goes over well. I am recalling in my mind right now a developers convention where a whole bunch of Indian men decided that they wished to identify as non-binary. In order to get into the convention, it led to a lot of people getting upset because men or women that normally would go into an all-females convention were getting outmatched by a bunch of men that were identifying as non-binary because non-binary people could apply and go to the convention. That was quite a funny story. If people are interested in a retrospective on that, I might be able to fulfill your needs on that one. But this one is kind of funny. This one is kind of funny because, again, they are... it seems that when it comes to DEI, which is something that I think people need to recognize, is not going to go away very quickly. It is going to stay and continue chugging along for multiple years to come until we continue to fight back. It is just very interesting to see that they are not being so quiet about it. They are wanting to put out in the open what they want. What they want to hire is females and non-binaries. They're not interested in making good games here, okay? They are interested in making content that is first and solely made by women and non-binary people. Okay, sounds good. To be honest with you, they're a game company, their rules, they get to decide what they do, but I get to decide I don't care about any of their content. And I'm going to be completely honest with you, people don't seem to care about Ubisoft a lot either. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the stock is kind of having a bit of a problem recently. Within the last 6 months, things have not been particularly kind. They have had a steady decline all the way down to $2.54. Oh, it just went back up to $2.56. Well, look at that. In a real-time build-up for me there. It went back up by 2 cents. Somebody feels a little... somebody feels like it could go back up. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? But the market is not necessarily confident in Ubisoft, and it has led to the stock getting downgraded. This is an article where they talk about the downgrade itself, where it says that BNP downgraded the video game publisher's stock from an outperforming to a neutral, basically meaning that they no longer feel very confident in this. Downgrading stocks typically happen when a company is very volatile or it suffers from multiple issues in the company. And Ubisoft seems to be one of the latest victims in this, where they lower its target from 32 euros to 14.5 euros. That is a massive downgrade. That's more than half of the target that they previously were pictured at. And it does mention here that BNP revised its recommendation on Ubisoft due to disappointing results from several AAA titles, such as Skull and Bones and Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. And what's funny is they don't mention Skull and Bones as quadruple A. Maybe even they know that it's not worth the quadruple A status. Continues on here to say that the year of 2025 looks particularly competitive, with major releases like GTA 6 leading to reduced sales and profits for forecast for Ubisoft in the fiscal year. So pretty much the big problem that they're going to run into is they're putting out all these games that I'm not going to say nobody is playing, because it's not like Concord, where nobody is playing it and they shut it down in less than a lifespan of a fly. And it's not like Dustborn, where literally I am able to outmatch the amount of people that are playing the game just by streaming it on 2 different platforms. No, they quite literally have games that so few people are playing that they can't sustain it. This is with mentioning, again, Skull and Bones took 11 years to make, and took millions upon millions of dollars to create. And now, look at how many people are playing it. Look at how many people have invested into it. I don't know what microtransactions they have going into this game, if they do, but holy crap, that is a massive failure. And it has been such a failure with Ubisoft in the last couple years that it seems that investors are done with those failures. And this kind of leads to the end of our journey today, where it seems that the investors do not want the current CEO to remain in office while the company is moving on. And in fact, I have heard rumors that Ubisoft could potentially go private, which means that they're going to get rid of their stock, buy all of the stock back, and just become a private company once again. That will be very interesting if that actually happens, because if they go private, they have a potential to fix things. Now, to be honest with you, going private is a very risky venture, because that means that they cannot rely on investors pumping up the stocks to help them out when times are rough. But maybe they need to do, maybe this is probably what has to happen. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, they probably need to do that, because and not just them. There are multiple game companies recently that have been falling by the wayside. I've covered it in another video, but like Ubisoft is the latest example where it's just been sucking. It's just been sucking a lot, and if they don't fix something, I don't really know what we should expect here. But as this article reads here, Outlaws, which is the new Star Wars game, is not a failure on the scale of Concord, but the game's results are somewhat disappointing to the developers and shareholders. Ubisoft shareholders are calling for the company to go private and the current management to be replaced by new people. So, Outlaws was one I had mentioned. was a game that people are saying is full of DEI. Now, I have not done as much research into Outlaws. I've heard that it's kind of in the middle for some people. Some people like it, some people don't. I think the biggest thing that people are complaining about is the fact that the main character, the female protagonist herself, is supposed to be like the female Han Solo, looks like a ghoul, or just looks ugly, and that's kind of mean, personally. But after looking at some pictures myself, and I'll show one or two of them on screen, I do have to agree, it's kind of sad that they took the actor who they lended their face from, and they made her look so bad. I honestly feel really bad for the actor. But anyway. All of this to say, where do I think is Ubisoft gonna go? I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. I know where I would want it to go. I want them to go private again. I want them to stop listening to the DEI BS that we are seeing them and many other companies read from, because it looks like that it's not paying off. It's definitely not paying off. They have a bunch of games that are being made, and people are probably going to lose their jobs as a result of this, as a result of these companies continuing to think that they know what the quote-unquote modern audience is, and there really just isn't a modern audience for these kinds of games, because for the most part, they all exist on Twitter, which is a free platform. Maybe, who knows, maybe that'll change in the future too. But the modern audience that these people are trying to seek, are trying to run after, they don't exist. They don't exist at all. And if they do exist to some extent, they don't purchase the stuff that these people make. Probably in part because they also hate this stuff too. So if I were to say where I feel like this is going to go, I feel like if Ubisoft continues on the current trajectory, I feel like the investors are going to push to make the company private. I do believe that the CEO is going to be laid off or fired pretty spectacularly, in my personal opinion. And maybe the company can fix itself afterwards. But what do I know? I am just a lonely octopus that surfs in the sea and sees all of this stuff going on. How about you tell me what you think in the comments down below? I'm always interested to read what you guys think about this kind of stuff going on. Thank you so much for watching today. If you did make it to the point in this video, I am curious what your favorite color is. I'm going to try and do this every single video where I ask a question for people who made it to the end of the video. Here's your secret question at the end of the video. Thank you so much for your participation in all of this. You guys are absolutely amazing. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video and share it with other people. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye!